1,000 days, 24,000 hours, and counting. Hours, minutes, seconds that changed our lives forever. Ukraine will never be the same, and there is no point for me to even try to explain the feeling of a father of three who lost his wife and all of his children. The feeling of a family member who lost a family member. A mother who lost both children. A child whose mother was shred to pieces by Russian missile debris. A soldier who lost both of his legs and arms. How do I even explain that? What should I say? I can hope for your compassion, of course. I can hope for a tear falling from your eye. I can curse Putin, the Kremlin, Russia, and Russians. And I did that 1,000 times during this 1,000 days. Today, I want to say something else. Something that may be perceived as being rude, but it's not. It's just the truth. We in Ukraine don't have extra time for excessive emotions today. Way more than warming compassion and empathy of the world, we in Ukraine are craving something else. Your clear, pragmatic mind.
My belief is that we have come to a point where it is fair to say that the strategy of the way that we helped Ukraine during the 3-year period, almost 1,000 days, has failed. A peace through de-escalation is a failing and failed strategy. We need a new one. We need a strategy that would come from strength. The same strategy that has been asked by Baltic states, by Ukraine itself, by others who really support Ukraine, that we need strength. And when I'm talking strength, I'm talking weapons, I'm talking about real removal of all restrictions and actually a winning strategy. From the winning strategy, we could come to a point where all the phone calls, everything would actually make sense. Because now they don't. Because we are still in the de-escalation strategy mode. And that has failed. So I'm hopeful that we can put a stop, end to this, and really come back with the new strength, with the new administrations to this situation and find an actual solution and an actual support to Ukraine that would help Ukraine win.
It is indeed a relief to see that after 1,000 days, the world finally is changing its excruciatingly hypocrite non-interference attitude and quits this de-escalation rubbish. But let's not forget that for Ukrainians, the war did not start in 2022. The conflict in eastern Ukraine's Donbas region began in 2014. In fact, before 2022, the terrible humanitarian situation in eastern oblast of Ukraine was considered a forgotten crisis. And in a sense, such an openly criminal, direct, full-scale invasion helped the world to realize what is going on in Ukraine, Russian genocide of all that is Ukrainian: culture, language, historical heritage, people. In 2025, it is estimated that 5 million people will face food insecurity. In Ukraine, it is down from 11 million, of course, in 2023, and even 7 million in 2024. We say a great thank you for that to the European humanitarian missions and United Nations and volunteering individuals who help us standing until this very day. Yet, the humanitarian situation on the ground remains critical, with conditions worsening in frontline regions and the harsh winter approaching. In 2024, the United Nations estimated that 14.6 million Ukrainians, almost 40% of the country's population, will still need humanitarian assistance, and that means that in 2025, millions of Ukrainians will continue to be dependent on humanitarian aid. The need ranges from across all sectors like access to water and hygiene, healthcare, shelter, psychological support and more. So please, don't forget, 1,000 days of war and counting, as the war is now. And Ukraine needs not only bandages to treat the bleeding, we need a sword to deter the enemy that causes them, and we got it for now. United States has lifted the ban on Ukraine using long-range missiles to fire into Russian territory by permitting them to be used against Russian and North Korean troops in the Kursk region. The United States will allow Ukraine to use US-made ATACMS, missiles which have range of 300 kilometers, a decision being justified by the presence of North Korean troops fighting alongside Russia against Ukraine. It was not Joe Biden who lifted the restrictions, and not some son of a Trump that would have cast them back if only he could. It is not one influential person or a handful of them in the United States of America. It were not Democrats who imposed restrictions and not Republicans who lifted them, giving us a chance to fight back for the first time in 3 years, to hit militarily legit targets, military airfields and depots, and not civilian cities as night as Putin does in Ukraine. So, who after all did lift the restrictions then, if not Biden or anyone else? America did. The America, the country that was, is, and always will be great because of a great nation that lives there in a great diversity of views, cultures, and beliefs that altogether compile into a core human value, freedom. And that is what Ukraine is fighting for in this war for 1,000 days in a row, freedom. And that is why America is great, because its people are free. And Ukraine is craving the same. America is great not because someone reshaped good old Reagan's slogan, but because of a great diversity of sometimes controversial views and opinions that oppose each other and from time to time enjoy winning over one another. And we in Ukraine stand for exactly that kind of greatness. As America is great because it takes great hardships for you to face along the way to earn America's great respect. And we in Ukraine like to think that in 1,000 days walking a fiery path of this war paved with pain and loss, Ukrainians prove themselves worthy of such a respect from a great America. And we hope that when Ukrainians say, "God bless America," Americans would feel quite appropriate to answer with, "Glory to Ukraine."